Hey, Bree. Okay, very excited. Okay, I sent the invite request to Aiden. So now we just wait. Um, I'm ready to. I've been awake since like 5:30 in the morning, and I've just been like shaking with energy like the whole time. No time for naps. No moments of being tired at all. I'm really excited. Okay. Hi, Aiden. Did you see the live request that I sent you? I'm gonna say it again. I'm getting flashbacks to the first time this happened. Okay, let me go through invite. Okay, invite sent. I don't. Okay. Okay. Wait.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can. But like your screen is so little. Why is it so little?
Oh my god, I don't know. Oh, wait. I don't want effects or anything. Just like, why am I tiny?
I don't know. Why are you tiny? I'm trying to. There are
Why
literal
am I
tears in my
so.
eyes because, of course, this is how it begins.
It's like, do you want to
I have to
smooth
change
out your
the
face?
layout. Okay, Bree, tell me how to
Same.
change the layout.
Oh my god. You know what? As long as it's not me that's causing the issue, you guys tell me if it's my fault, though.
No, because I was panicking in a similar format. At a different time. It's in live settings. Okay.
Y'all are
And
so
I was
kind.
telling my friends, I was like, is it just me or is this like so clunky every time I try it? They're like, no, it genuinely does update and change like on a weekly basis for no
That's
reason.
so annoying.
Not comment settings. Moderators, I guess.
I feel so small. Hi, everybody.
You're so little. You're like this big.
I've never been so dainty.
You can fit in my pocket. Um, Mod Brie, I don't know what that means, my love. If I go into settings, where do I go in settings? Because there's the option for comment settings, which I know is not what we need. Moderators, which I have already added you as. Rankings, which means nothing to me. Um, Muted accounts, which like also not relevant. Gift limit notification and blocked accounts. There's nothing about a layout.
Everyone's like,
I know. This is it's so on brand though, I think.
they're being so helpful, and I'm just like, I'm still a little convinced that it's my fault.
I know. I'm like, so Brie, do I make you a moderator? Is that what I need to do? I'm just gonna make Brie a moderator. I'm gonna add and we'll see what happens. Um but while we're getting this sorted out, how has your day been?
It's been good. I'm at my sister's right now, and I was like, "Can I just like use your bedroom so I can do this event?" I like brought my stack of books with me, and she was like, "Oh my God, my whole room is a mess." So no one, and I was like, "No one's gonna see," but she was like really stressed out about it.
No, that's me. Like anytime. Go into multi-guest settings. Okay, multi-guest. And then what? Go into multi-guest setting. Click the multi-guest bit at the bottom. The two little people. Okay.
Two
Yeah,
little people.
and then what do I do after that? There's a microphone. There's a camera. Do I click on the? No, do not turn off Aiden Schmaden's camera. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, okay. If I okay, my only options for I found the layout. Okay, I found it. Okay. There's the panel layout and the grid, and those are my two options. Do I need to be clicking on? Because right now I'm on panel. Will grid make this better? Try one. I don't. Okay. If I do grid. Oh!
Next to each other.
Okay. We're the same size. Okay.
Thank you, Hobbit's Library.
Okay. I was like, thank you, Bree. Thank you, and L, because this was really a tag team effort between the two of them. Okay, because I was looking at grid, and this is when my brain was struggling beyond what was literally being given to me. Because for the example of a grid layout, it's like one box with a bunch of boxes, and I was like, I don't want 6 boxes. I want 2. Okay. Thank you to everything.
Amazing.
Yes. Okay.
So I don't know how many books you're prepared to talk about, but I have 9.
I have. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my god! I also have like a list of 9, but I go in the direction of like 9 author names, just like because some of these are authors where they have more than one book that I enjoy. So yeah, also 9. Ugh.
Cool. Maybe we have overlap. So for people who are just coming in, hello, welcome. We're here celebrating the trans rights readathon. Gracie asked me to come in and talk to you guys about trans books, and I'm like really, really exciting. Exciting? No, I'm excited.
But you are also exciting because you are one of the authors on my list. But my mom came up with this idea because we were in the car. We commute together, and I was in the process of telling her. I was like, "Oh my god, Aiden just tweeted me?" ? And I opened the tweet, and she's like, "Why is Aiden tweeting you?" And I was like, "Oh, Aiden wants me to read a Sasquatch romance novel, and I'm accepting immediately." And she's like, "This is insane." And then she's like, "It's been like a year since you did live. You should go live again." Yeah. Like for the trans rights readathon. I was like, oh my god, we should go live again. You're like, oh my god, in general, we should always be going live. But I agree. Yeah, it has like been a year since like I don't know like exactly like what month we went live for the first time. We're able to have a conversation for the first time together. But I know that for sure the last time we spoke, I was only 20 books into Animorphs. I was still in college. Yeah. It's been a while.
You're like, all this stuff was happening.
All this stuff was happening. And so yeah, tomorrow is the last day of the Trans Rights Readathon, which was started by the creator Sim Kern here on Book Talk, who is a book talker and an author. And the International Trans Day of Visibility is coming up in a few days. And so it just seemed like a good time, especially with all the horrifying like new influxes happening day to day of updates about trans rights legislation. It feels good to be able to talk to one of my favorite authors, period, about our collective favorite books by trans, non-binary, and genderqueer authors. So I'm super excited.
I'm really excited. Like, I can myself a little bit. Because there's still no mess in the shot, so it's fine.
So I don't really have like any set questions because like I want like this is pretty loose. But I also I voiced out loud earlier today. I was like, 2 people with ADHD are about to get on one phone call. So I wrote things down in case things go off the rails to keep things semi-structured. Because I all day today I've been attending Teen Book Con, which is like in Boston. I got to meet an author that you know, Shamile Mendez.
Oh my god, yeah. She's
who
lovely.
she's so loved and she loves you so much. And I voiced this out loud to her. I was like, oh yeah, two people with ADHD. And then she was like, yeah. And then they like clicked. I was like, oh, I should probably have like a skeleton of something so we stay on topic, kind of.
Yeah, she was like, uh-huh, I have been around Aiden.
She told me that she had just started Sunbearer trials.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Oh, that's
and
exciting.
so my mom and I are excited because I remember when I finished it and screamed. And I was also lucky enough to be in the car when my mom was listening to the audiobook,
Oh
finished
my gosh.
it and screamed. And so I guess that is a way to lead us into like one question to sort of spark the whole live. For anyone watching who doesn't know, this is Aiden Thomas,
Hi.
a young adult author who has written Cemetery Boys, Lost in Neverwoods, and most recently Sunbearer Trials, which is like Hunger Games meets Percy Jackson. This is the first in a series, and so I think my first question, which is on everyone's mind, what what are any updates on the writing of the sequel?
um
Anything, any scraps?
so as it turns out, writing sequels are super hard. Um, so it's later than what we had wanted it to be. I actually I called up Tracy Dion and I was like, Tracy, how are we supposed to write sequels in 1 year? And she was like, we can't. So there's like so many of us, especially in my debut year, which is 2020, the pandemic kids, that so many of us. I think there's like five of us that were like, we can't write a sequel in 1 year, so they're kind of getting bumped back out. So I haven't officially said this yet, but the sequel will be coming out in September of 24 instead of 23. But I am doing it because I promise I want it to be a very, very good sequel and like wrap up to this duology. Um, and so, yeah, I've been working on it relentlessly. I have seen the cover. I obviously know the title. The cover is the gayest cover I've ever gotten, which I'm really, really excited about. Um, there's it's hard because there's so many secrets in the sequel that I would really want to hang on to so that people don't know until they like open that first page and they're like, holy shit, what is this?
I'm
Um,
I'm
so
really excited because
yeah.
yeah, and I mean like take your time because you set up a lot because like when for anyone who hasn't read it yet, when you say like Hunger Games meets Percy Jackson, it's really very much that with book one being more Hunger Games with the ending setting up for being more Percy Jackson. Like we're gonna have a quest, and I
Yes.
love a good quest.
Yeah, so
So
we have a quest. We have a road trip of sorts that you could call it. And there's going to be just so many monsters in this one. This is a book that is full of monsters that are all like folklore monsters or inspired by like Mexican folklore monsters and mythological beasts and stuff like that. And it was literally so much fun to like but also hard to like pick which monsters I wanted to do and like decide what kind of battles I wanted. So yeah, it was really, really exciting. I am, oh my God, I want to share so much with you guys.
no,
Uh,
I'm excited, especially if you're talking about like creatures, because
yes,
the creatures that we saw in book one were like so full of life and so much
yeah.
personality. And if like we get any sort of like interactions with like birds, like how we saw in
Yeah.
book one, like to this day, like my friends and I like still like without question Theo's birds at the beginning that are
Pico
helping
and
him
Perry.
stand alive.
Everyone loves Pico and Perry.
Barry and Pico, they are so minion coded. Like they're so like I think of the minions. Like they're so that. Like
That's so accurate.
they're so minion coded. Like that's they're just so goofy and ridiculous.
They really are. Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
so
so much I want to again, so much I want to share, but I'm really trying to hold on to some secrets
yeah.
so that when you guys like pick it up and read it, you're like really like kind of blown away and like surprised. But it's been really fun to work on. You're going to see new cities. Um, yeah, and different areas of Reino del Sol. Um, I'm like, what can I say without any big spoilers?
Someone said, "How many of the kids die, Aiden?" Just
I can tell you that there will I like, oh my God, this is so hard. How do people not give spoilers? Especially authors who like kill a lot of people off in their books. How do they talk about their books? I don't know. There will be things. I want to share more, but
love it. I love that we are starting this live, full panic. We're living in fear.
I kind of want to do like a challenge or something when it gets like a bit closer to the date to see if anyone can guess what the title is. Um, but yeah, we'll think about it. I'm really excited.
Turn it
But
into a game. Yeah, I'm really
yeah,
excited. I did my pre-order for the little Sunbear trial, like crew
good.
neck. I'm so
Oh
excited
my gosh, yes, it's so cute.
because
I
I
love
missed
it.
the first round of pre-orders, and I
Yeah,
was like devastated because
yeah,
we've already established if you make merch, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to wear it. Like there's no such thing as
yeah.
merch you've
Mars
made that I don't own yet. Um,
Mars really went all out with that hoodie. I'm obsessed with it. I wear it like all the time, or the pullover rather, not a hoodie.
but
But yeah, and then after the I almost said the title. After the Sunbear sequel, I have actually said it twice during class visits, and then and I had to be like, "You can't tell anybody." Um, but then after I write that one, I get to write the sequel to Cemetery Boys. So if you
yeah,
haven't heard, I am writing a sequel to Cemetery Boys, which is going to be really, really fun, and I literally can't wait to work on that one too. I'm just excited to get back to like the gang. It's gonna be from Julian's POV, and I pitched it to my editor as The Sixth Sense meets Final Destination, but if it were written by a golden retriever, because I have to like quantify everything, because like on paper, I feel like my books always sound like super scary, and I'm like, well, they're scary, but like
they're
still like
scary. They
cute
will
and
make you
fun.
cry. But Julian's telling the story.
Yes,
I'm
Julian's
so
telling the
excited.
story.
I love Julian so much. He has my heart. That is my son. I
Yeah,
love it. I
he's
love it.
he's fun, and we're gonna spend a lot more time with his brother and his group of friends too. So,
Oh,
it's
that's
gonna
so
be
good. I'm excited. I really did like his friend group when
yeah,
like the little gang like met with them. That was such I think that's one of my favorite things that I can always like look forward to in your books is like there will always be a family of
yeah,
some sort that just like feels like a hug.
yes, a
So
chaotic group of some sort of queer people
yes.
hanging around. Yeah, so that one's gonna be really fun. And it's gonna pick up right after Cemetery Boys, so it's actually gonna take place during Christmas time. So that's also gonna be fun. I'm so excited for that. Yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be a good time. But
To
I'm
shift
looking
focus
forward to it.
away from you before you accidentally give a spoiler.
I
Um
seriously.
what is the most recent book that you've read that falls into the category of like being either like about trans non-binary genderqueer like by a trans non-binary genderqueer author?
I'm gonna say the one that I like it came out the most recently, but it's not the one that I've like read the most recently because I read arcs. So I always read books like a year before anyone else does,
I
and then
also
it
just
sucks.
finished up
So
an arc.
yeah, because then I have to like sit around and wait for people to like learn about the book before I can really talk about it. But so this is The Wicked Bargain by Gabe Cole Novoa, who is a wonderful writer. And I have been following him on Twitter like since I joined Twitter in like 2017 or something like that. And this one is really, really fun. This one is for all of the Our Flag Means Death girlies out there.
Oh, let me write
Um,
it down.
Yes, it's so good. And Cole is Mexican and Cuban, and the main character, whose name is Mar, is a trans boy, and they have magical powers, and they are on their father's ship. and it is swashbuckling, like very Our Flag Means Death, like a huge cast of queer characters where being like queerness is very like normal and like not thought about at all. Um, and in order to save his dad, Mar has to make a deal with a demon who happens to be a gender fluid demon who can like change shapeshift, who's really cool. And it's really good. It's so much fun. It's high seas on the Caribbean, and magic powers. So it's like everything I love. If you loved Our Flag Means Death, like this is a great book for you.
So I've been seeing the cover float around,
Yeah.
and yeah, someone in the comments just mentioned, I think Bree, our wonderful helper, Bree, just reminded me why Vico Ortiz
Vigo
does
Ortiz, yeah.
the audiobook narration,
Yep.
which is really exciting. Someone's asking if it's young adult or adult.
Yes. So everything I have is young adult because I basically only read young adult as a young adult author. I don't have any adult picks.
I have a mixed bag, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, everything that I have is going to be that. But it's really, really fun. I had started making my friend watch Our Flag Means Death when I started reading this book. So it was very much like I was like, this is great. And then yeah, Vigo Ortiz narrated it, which is like another pull in. Vigo has done two other trans book narrations too, but I can't
Yes.
remember them off the top of my
I
head.
can't remember them off the top of my head either. But I know they'll come to me at another point. But yeah, I'm really excited. A few hours ago, I just finished Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi.
Oh,
Oh, have you read it?
I haven't read it yet, but they're so brilliant.
I have it right next. Where is it? I literally like I was at Teen Book Con today, and I was one of the volunteers. This is my volunteer shirt. And there was a point where I had the option of going to one of like the bajillion panels, or having like a free hour to hang out in the library.
Yeah.
Before I went to go help with like author signings. So I finished Freshwater. My mom was texting me. She was like, "Where are you?" And I did not see it because I was finishing Freshwater. It's fantastic. Freshwater is an adult, like, I guess, urban fantasy novel. Does discuss different realms, but this mainly takes place like in a modern, like contemporary setting. Elle, I will be getting to You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty soon. I will be getting into it soon. Also by Akwaeke Emezi. But Freshwater is very interesting. It's like a fantasy exploration of mental illness and disorders, but specifically like depression and like dissociative identity disorder. And so our main character is Ada, who has multiple godlings inside her because she was born with one foot in this realm and one foot in another. And so she's like, it's this whole thing. And so there are these gods inside of her that she doesn't know about until a traumatic event in college crystallizes them. That's how it's described, as like being able to take control of the body and come forward. And like they talk about how in her mind she has this little room where it's like her and some of the other gods, and like it's a multiple perspective book. We're mainly, the opening chapters start off as being like we, and so it's the multiple gods that are speaking as one collective.
That's so cool.
And they refer to Ada as the Ada, and it's like it's so interesting. And so like the main personalities that we're seeing are like the collective inside of her, just labeled as like we. Ada, which is very rare actually. And I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation because I listened to the audiobook while I was reading the physical book so I can mark it as I go.
Oh, nice.
And it's narrated by Akwaeke Emezi, and the way the name is pronounced requires like some pull from the throat that I am just not capable of at this time. But the best I can do is Asugara, which is like the protector, but she's also very destructive in that way. And then there's Saint Vincent, and it's really interesting. There are multiple spirits of like different gender and the way that they explore being in this body, and like discussions on like how Ada feels in this body. And it's brutal. It's visceral. It's very uncomfortable and painful, but it's so beautifully written and it
Yeah.
just like washes over you. So
So
I
many
finished
movies.
that a few hours ago and I've fallen totally in love with Akwaeke Emezi this month. I
Yeah.
had never read anything from them before March.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
that's so
they've
good.
been on my radar like
Yeah.
forever. Like I have heard like so many mentions like of their name, and I'm like, I need to get to them. I need to get to them. I need to get to them. But it was one of those things where it was like, I knew once I would start, like I would get obsessed. So I
Yeah.
started the month with Bitter, which is a prequel, and then I read Pet, which is the original book that it's a prequel for,
Yes.
um, which was very interesting to experience because prequel takes place like way in the past, and then
Hmm.
we're watching like the present, and then so like it was very interesting for me to like meet Bitter and then meet her daughter instead of
Yeah.
meeting Jam and then getting to know Bitter, which was really interesting. And yeah, those are just like really amazing young adult novels
Yeah.
exploring like what it means to be a revolutionary and what it takes to sort of like grow as a community and like the dangers of complacency. And yeah,
Yeah.
Aquarium
Pet
is
is
brilliant.
definitely my favorite. A Pet was like a total game changer to just like read. It's so good.
My mom is listening to Pet right now.
Oh, good.
And
It's so good.
so like when we're in the car, like I have my headphones listening to my audiobook and then she has like her audiobook playing in the car. And so every once in a while I'll pause it and I'll hear Pet speaking and it's like the House of Redemption and I'm like
Yeah. I love that.
it's what is the sequel to Pet? So if you read Pet and you loved Pet, which like not to be judgy, but if you didn't love Pet, I don't know what you're gonna like to be honest. Akwege Emezi did a prequel called Bitter, which is about Bitter, and you watch Bitter meet Aloe, and more importantly, you're watching that revolution where the angels were introduced to Lucille. That the like that gets hinted at throughout Pet. And so you sort of watch what the very first angel coming to Lucille was like because it was caused by Bitter, because of course it was. Um, you get context for what that argument was between Aloe and Bitter, where Aloe was like, "You said you would never do this again," and Bitter was like, "I kept that promise. I don't know where this came from."
So good.
But yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
Yeah, a quick yeah. So I have You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, which is the longest title ever, and has taken
it
me
is.
a very long time to be able to like say without pausing and stuttering over it.
Yeah.
But I've heard amazing things. It's an adult romance that is trending on Book Talk currently. And I know it's going to be for good reason. I'm like only 50 pages in, but I know it's trending for good reason.
Yeah.
I know it's a banger.
Yeah.
It's so good. All right, so now
Okay.
to your turn.
Okay.
we'll just we'll just ping pong back
We'll
and
just
forth.
ping pong back and forth. Okay, I'm this one I think a lot of people have read, but it's one of my favorite books in the universe, so I'm gonna share it anyways. But Felix After After by Case and Calendar. This is again another young adult with a main character who is black, which is always nice. It's hard to find BIPOC trans characters in books. And this is the book that should have hit the New York Times bestseller list first. Like this book is it's so romantic and it takes place in New York, but it's also so like real, like actual teenagers, which I really appreciate when I'm reading YA. And the main character is a trans boy. This was for me the first cover I'd ever seen with a trans boy who has top surgery scars. So that was
Oh,
really special for me personally. Um, and yeah, it's about a boy. It's a romance. There's some school bullying that happens, but that's not really like the point of the book. And what I really like about this one is that Felix is a trans boy, but he's a trans boy who isn't like quite like the title doesn't feel quite right to him. So
mhm.
as he's going through this story, he's even though he's trans, he's going through more of a gender identity exploration and kind of figuring out like what does transness look like for him specifically. And I think that that's something that we don't see in books a lot. So yeah, this is a really fun one, very romantic, very sweet. And a very just a fun book. This is a very fun book, and I love it.
It's been on my radar for so long. I need to commit to like buying a physical copy because it
It's
that
really
falls into the
good.
category of like books where like I know I'll love it. It's just a matter of getting it in my hands.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, everyone whose opinions I trust, who has read it has like been absolutely madly in love with
Yeah.
like the writing of it and the whole story of Felix. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
it's so high up on my TBR.
yeah, and Kaysen is just such a brilliant, not even like writer because he is, but even just a person. Kaysen is wonderful and so smart, and yeah, just really, really, really wonderful book. That one was a huge game changer for me, even just like as a queer person in the world, like not even being like an author on top of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was yeah, I love that book. It means a lot to
Uh, my
me.
friend Elle says that King and the Dragonflies is one of
Oh,
Cason's that's super underrated.
it really is, and it's
What's that
very
one
good.
about?
That one's their middle grade. They write middle grade also.
Oh,
And that one is like magical realism. It's about hurricanes, but it's about queerness and it's about gender identity. Um, yeah, that one's really good. And then Hurricane Child, I think, is the other one, or I might be getting the Fireflies mixed up. Anyways, the point is, anything by Case and Calendar. Um, he also does adult books. He writes in like literally across the genres. Um, oh, the Queen of Something was the adult book. It was a really beautiful cover. It was one of the covers that had the like snake, the cover snake on it. Um,
oh.
so what was that one called?
Queen of the Conquered.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Queen of the Conquered. Yes, thank
Someone
you. Whoever
just
threw that.
commented it right now, like right as you were buffering on
Okay.
it, like that it
Really
popped
good.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's two books. So
Okay.
yeah, but truly anything by Kaysen is great. And I love that he has books across different age brackets so that you can kind of approach it on whatever level you're at, which is cool.
I really love that. I like when like authors that I love are like writing across age brackets because then
Yeah.
it's like you get to recommend them to like a whole wide range of people and you get to
Yeah.
recommend them to people like early. And
Yes.
yeah, I so that was this is like slightly off topic, but like Talia Hibbert, I was so excited
Oh,
when I found out that Talia Hibbert like did a YA romance. I was like,
yeah.
finally, we can start bringing in the high school kids and start like feeding them
Yes.
this brilliance. But yes, I'm so excited. Yes.
Me too.
Um, so very recently, I read an arc which like it comes out soon enough for
Mm,
where like I can like talk about and like gush over it and like people can have it in their hands very soon. I read an arc by Morgan Dante.
mm.
And it's like a novella. It's like less than 200 pages. And it's called A Flame in the Night. And it's definitely an adult book. But it's a polyamorous vampire set in France in the 1920s. Oh my gosh,
Stop.
I was eating it up. So it's
That sounds like
like
so much fun.
it was so much fun. So it centers like this human couple, Leon and Claire, and they're so in love. Like when Morgan Dante put up like the promotional graphics and like you know how it does like the tropes and little arrows. There was
Yes.
one that just said "I love my wife," and I was like, you know what? He does. He really does. And it's so good. And so they dabble in debauchery together, sometimes for work, sometimes for fun. And they usually always attend these like sort of gatherings and like events together for
Mm.
protection. And because they love each other so much. And they're so sweet to each other. It's mainly from Leon's point of view. So this feels a little bit more like Leon's story, like Leon's the main character, and like
Mm.
so Claire and this vampire, Matthias, feel almost
Oh,
like
another
side characters, but
Matthias.
they are very much like involved. And so Leon and Claire go into this like party event situation, and they see like the most beautiful man either of them have ever seen, and he's like silver hair, mysterious, and it's really great. And like they approach him, and he is very much okay with it. And then they find out that he's a vampire and they're extra okay with it, and it's just like great. And I think one of the funniest parts about it is that like we're watching Leon go through a crisis, because he swears he's straight. And I think what was so funny about that was like when he said, like when he's like insisting that it's like he only like does anything with men for like payment, like he
Right.
swears he's just like straight, like I love my wife. And it's like it's so funny because he has this moment where like he is looking at Matthias. That is a beautiful man.
Yeah.
He's so beautiful. Oh my God. Look at his cravat. Are cravats even in style? I'm straight. And that's literally like the sequence of the title's A Flame in the Night. And it comes out at the very beginning of April. It's by Morgan Dante. And
That sounds really fun.
it's such a fun time. I wish
Yeah.
it were longer. I feel like every time there's a novella that I fall in love with, I'm like, this cannot be a perfect 5-star read because it's too short and I'm selfish.
You're like, because I wanted more, and this is
because
rude.
because I want to live in here for 500 pages and you only made it 160. Points deducted because you hurt me personally. Um, so that so I read that arc like a couple days ago. Which yeah, I felt like I saw a random tweet by Morgan Dante being like, I need arc readers. Here's like
And you're
some
like,
tropes on the list, and I was like, I love everything. Click.
yes. You're like, done, signed, sealed, delivered.
Literally, like I paused everything. I immediately jumped through all the links. All the links. It was so good.
I love that. I think there's two that I'm trying to decide between. I'm gonna talk about Anna Marie McLemore because I always do.
Oh, is that Self-Made Boys?
So this is Self-Made Boys, yes. So if you don't know, Anna Marie McLemore is a bigender author, and they write the most beautiful fantasy. They're like when I think of like fairy tale retellings or like magical realism, it's Anna Marie. Anna Marie, if you like those kinds of books, writes beautiful ones. And they have like 8 books published at this point. A Dark and Deepest Red is another one of my favorites. And the first time I ever read a book with a trans character in it was when I read When the Moon Was Ours, which has a trans boy in it. Um, and that was one of their first books that they ever published, and it's incredible. It's so good. But Self-Made Boys, let me tell you about, is a reimagining of The Great Gatsby. So if you're a classics girly and you love reading different like spins, this is a fantastic one. So basically, it's a trans for trans romance. So both Gatsby and Nick are trans, and Nick is also Mexican, which is really a really cool twist that he put on it. It's the most romantic, singularly most romantic book I've ever read in my entire life. Every time I read an AM book, I'm always like, why am I even here? Like, AM got this cover. Like, I'm not adding anything to the zeitgeist. It's all AM's books. Like, just replace mine with theirs. Um, it is so good. There's lavender weddings, which you can see there's a bunch of lavender in this cover. And I won't tell you what a lavender wedding is, but what a really cool thing that I liked about this book was that you learn what it's like to be a queer person and a trans person in the 1920s when this is taking place. AM did a lot of really cool research about what that was like, about what people like us were like living through and how they were secret, and ways that they were still able to like thrive and love each other while still under all these like parameters where we're still like trying to hide what our true selves were. And it's so good. Again, one of the most romantic books I've ever read. AM is just, their prose is so gorgeous but also accessible. I get kind of intimidated by purple prose because like I'm just not that smart, and like I don't know English like super great, so I like, get really nervous.
The amount of books I've read where I'm like, I know that the writing is objectively good. I know this is so beautiful. I am not physically capable of processing a single sentence.
It's literally me.
Like,
Literally
you know that
me.
TikTok audio where it's like, where what is it? It's like, I don't know what any of this means, but it had the
Yeah.
cadence of a joke. Like
Yes,
that, whenever I
exactly.
was like, I know this is so good. I know you're spitting bars, but like I don't know what you just said. It sounded
Yeah.
so good though.
Yeah, so I feel that way quite often. But reading AM's books, it's like beauty in a very accessible sort of way. So I super recommend this one, especially if you like classics and like remixes on classics. I again, I felt madly in love with it. Oh, I can read my blurb because it's on the back.
Oh my god, you shameless plug.
Here's some
Let's
good
read
words
Aiden's
that I
words on this book.
also, in my defense, also my words are on Wicked Bargain right there. What does it say? It says pirates and romance, magic and demon curses. This book has it all, which is true. Anyways, back to self-made boys. What I said was I sound so smart with blurbs because it takes me like 3 hours to write them. So I'm like, how do I sound pretty? Smell pretty? That was weird. Okay, anyways, my blurb was tenderly written and achingly romantic. Anna Marie McLemore has crafted a romance for the ages. Their Latinx lens provides more nuance and depth to the classic story. With a breath of fresh life, Self Made Boys shows us how queer love has flourished in quiet corners across history.
Oh my
So
god.
if that sounds up your alley, fucking read it. It's so good. I love it so
You've been
much.
through an alliteration. Like
Yeah. Not to brag, but sometimes I can write a pretty blurb.
no,
But the problem with
that was
blurbs,
lovely.
the thing with blurbs though, is that like I again, it takes me like 3 to 5 hours to write 3 sentences. But that means I do so much of them that I'm like running out of all of my like good phrases. So
I
now I
know.
have to
Now
like
you need
come up
like
with
a
other
random
ways.
word generator of
I
like,
do. Oh, that's a
and you
good
need to
point.
like mix it up.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So a book that's on my list that I think fits this realm. So it's not the 1920s, but it is the 1940s, and it is T for T. But like it's T for T for T because it's also a polyamorous romance.
Perfect.
So The Companion by E. E. Ottoman. I have it right next to me. Where are you? Um, also a novella that I was very devastated was a novella because also the prose are so lovely. Like it's one of the few books where like I walked away from it and like the best way that I can describe the writing is just romantic. Like I
Mm.
was just like, and it's like whenever I'm seeing like romances that are like so soft and lovely, I like cry. I'm a crier. This is not new.
Yeah.
But this is the book, The Companion. It's also
Oh, it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
It's beautiful. So our main character is a trans woman who like answers like an ad or like a something for this trans man who's like living out in the country. So she's coming from New York, he's living out in the country. And so he puts out like a call for a companion, like because he's a writer and he like lives in this giant house like by himself. And so she like shows up and she's like, I'm here to hang out in your house. And so it starts out and you're like, oh my gosh, like they find each other so beautiful. And then she meets his neighbor, who is this other trans woman who I'm in love with because like her entrance is like so witchy and magical. Like she's just like foraging for mushrooms out in the woods, long red hair. She's so tall and statuesque, and she's like,
That is
and
magical. You're right.
so our main character is having like this thing with this guy in his house, and then she meets his neighbor and they're starting to have a thing, and then she finds out that these neighbors are actually exes. And so not only is this like someone said a fourth me too. And so not only are we watching like new love between our main character and like coming between these people, but we're also seeing a second chance romance between these neighbors.
God, I love a second
And
chance romance.
it's beautiful.
Sucker
It's an
for it.
adult contemporary. And yeah, it takes place in 1940, yeah, 1948. So we're entering like the 50s slightly. And the language is like so lovely and beautiful and flowery and oh, like I was sitting there and I was like, it's poetry,
Oh,
and
I
it's
love it.
and it's this long, and I
How
swear
do
to
people
God,
do it? I don't know. I don't know. It's
it's
magic. It's like it's
it's
the only
really it's
explanation.
great. It really is like. was like, what? It's, but no, like I was sitting there, I was like in awe. I was like, everyone's in love and everyone's beautiful and oh, and it's so great. It's
I love
so
that.
lovely.
That sounds wonderful. Oh, okay. Who do I want to pull out next? Okay, I have one.
All right, I'm
Um,
not leaving. I'm just turning on the main light because I
okay.
cannot only rely on my ring light. Um,
You're like, it is nighttime. So I want to talk about Beating Heart Baby by Leo Min next. This, first of all, the cover is like really beautiful.
man, I love the like bright pink. I
Yeah.
love it like hot pink.
And it's a soft touch one, so it's like, it's nice quality. I actually met Leo Min at a library event, and they were like so cool. I felt like such a dork talking to them. I always feel like a dork talking to any other author, but this is a really cool book. If you are like a music person, this is like the trans romance for you. It's a young adult category, and it's basically like a love letter to friendship, anime, and like indie rock. There's a trans
Oh,
boy.
I love that combo specifically.
Yeah. And it's yeah, they're really beautifully written books, but it's also super creative. It's about two characters who work in music and who become like rivals who turn into, I don't know, something. Um but it's the format of this book that I am totally obsessed with. It's about music, it's about DJing, but it's also the chapters are set up like a music album. So
Oh.
there's an A side, which is Santi's POV, and then there's a B side, which is Sua's POV, and they have track numbers as chapter titles. So it's a really so it's like it's such a cool way to kind of immerse you into the story, which is a very sweet, very romantic story. Um, that surrounds music, and to kind of have it in that format is just it was really cool. I wasn't expecting it when I first picked up the book. But yeah, so like how it
Oh,
says
I love that.
side B and the track name, and it's really cool. But again, yeah, Leo Min is like just so cool. I was like, I can't even be in the same room as you right now. I look like such a nerd. Um, and it's just it's it's young adult, but it's like very steamy in a really romantic, like not like overly sexual sort of way. And there's also a lot of you're dealing with different cultures, and you're dealing with identity and like what it means to have friendship, and what does family mean, which is always, we love a found family trope within the queer community. So it's really good. And again, if you like music, like this is like the book for you for sure.
Someone asked, are the song titles real songs or are they made up?
I think they're made up.
Oh.
But Leo is also like an artist, like a musical artist. So I don't actually, I don't know if they're real songs. They're not ones that I recognize, anyways. So yeah,
I love
it's so good.
I love it.
I
Found
love
family
it.
really is the backbone of our community.
So
Yeah.
true. So true.
Someone said that the title of the book is a real song. So I don't know, maybe.
Oh. It could just be that I don't know. As someone who is deaf, I don't like I'm not like super hip to a lot of music because it's
You
hard for
show
me to
them
hear
table
it.
of contents and it's like the top 40 like radio hits and everyone's like
It could be. Everyone's like, Aiden, really? You don't know this song?
so said it's a famous MySpace song.
I don't know. Also, hi. It's so nice to see you. I did not know that it was a famous MySpace song. See, I don't even know. I don't know anything.
Well, my friend Elle, as soon as you pulled up the book, was like, Gracie, what trans book about music are you gonna pull up? Since I tried to let me look at my list. I don't have any about music particular, but I was thinking of like two different books during our discussion about self-made boys. So I was thinking about one of like the super beautiful like T for T like historical romance. But the other one I was thinking of was in relation to books that make me feel pea-brained. The Outside by Ada Hoffman, let me.
Oh,
Ugh. So Ada Hoffman is a non-binary sci-fi author,
sci-fi, yes.
and so The Outside is book one in a sci-fi trilogy. I still need to read the others because I was waiting on the release of book three before I jump into two and three because I just, if I can wait for like that before jumping into it, then I will. But yeah, The Outside by Ada Hoffman. It's this like twisty, turny sci-fi novel about like an autistic lesbian scientist who accidentally almost destroys the fabric of reality. And so in this like universe there are like AI gods and there are like they're little angels and like she gets recruited by like one of these gods and they're like, we saw what you did, you're a threat, but you also stopped it and we know it was an accident. What we really need you for is not relevant to any of this. Your former mentor is now an outlaw, a heretic against the gods.
Oh.
And she liked you, so you need to help us find her. And it's really great. It tackles like a lot, and the writing of it, it was just like there was so much where I could not wrap my brain about like what we were trying to visualize, what was happening, like what this term, like I'm not a STEM girly, I have a fine arts degree. I like my senior thesis to get my degree was an illustrated book of like pictures without even words. Like I'm I'm a fine arts girly. I draw, I paint.
That's I didn't know that.
Don't yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
whenever the last time we spoke when I was in college, I was attending an art and design school. And so
I had literally no clue.
I tried because you know what it was? I was trying very hard to keep my school life and my TikTok life very separate because I was super paranoid about like if people know what school I go to and I end up pissing off the wrong fandom. I think I've been on Book Talk for like almost 3 years. I know they'll call my school, but I graduated, so it was the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
You're like, so no, I don't care.
Go River Rats.
Is that really the mascot?
Yes, and I think one of my favorite thing about it is that we did not have a sports team. We had no reason to have a mascot other than students one year were like, we don't have a mascot, we should have one. And then the school was like, okay, submit ideas and then you'll vote. And someone submitted a river rat because the school's right along a river.
Yeah.
And given that this is an art and design school filled with art nerds who watch like nothing but like anime and are consuming like comic books and manga and are like never leaving their bedrooms, like constantly walking around with those little braces because we're all getting hand cramps from drawing and like inhaling paint fumes. Yeah,
that's so funny.
Shit, they all collectively voted on a rat to represent the entire school. And yeah, River Rat for life. We never had a sports team of any kind to require a mascot, but they were like, the regular universities have a mascot.
You're like, so
need a mascot. And so yeah, so I graduated with a fine arts degree. I like to draw, but yeah, so I'm like falling in love with like the world of The Outside, while also like understanding like maybe every other paragraph.
That's really amazing,
but it's great that. Like our main character, and I think our main character really like she fits the category of like the reluctant chosen one, where like everyone's like, you're the one we need, and she's sitting there like, I want to go home. I need this to be someone else's problem. And she like is stuck. And she's like, I miss my girlfriend. I'm overstimulated. I don't like any of you, and I'm not on anyone's side. Let me leave. And it's great. I think my favorite character from the entire book, though, who I hope makes an appearance in the rest of the series, is this like robot AI who it's like it's a robot, like it's an AI robot, like from the side of like Genesis, which is like the god, like the AI god. And so it's like this amoral, impulsive, violent gremlin of a robot who quite literally, according to canon, when given the opportunity to like make upgrades to its own body, included a fidget toy. And
I love that.
it's like Venga, I think their name is Venga, like feral. Oh, it was so good. Like I was like, my favorite, like, oh, it's so good. But yeah, I don't understand a good chunk of what went on, but I know there's a lot to discuss about like morality and like ethics, and also just like a main character who does not like that they have this pressure on them,
Yeah.
and wants to leave more than anything. It's so great.
Relatable, honestly.
Bree, I do not have a music rec. I'm looking at my list. I'm looking back at you. I don't have
There's
any
a violin and a donut. What does that mean?
violin. I have no idea.
Donut and violins.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Oh my god. I do. Oh my god. And it didn't go on the list because it totally slipped my mind. What's
I
it called?
can.
The stars. Oh my god. Yes. Okay. A light from uncommon stars. Yes.
I know that one.
A light from uncommon stars. Yes, that completely. I've been bullied into remembering a light from uncommon stars. I do have a trans book about music.
You just
So
weren't ready.
it's great. A light from uncommon stars is like this really bizarre, really lovely sci-fi novel about a young trans teen who's like this violin prodigy. There's multiple like little storylines going on, and they intersect in really interesting ways. But our like first main character, who I always consider to be like the main character, um, is this like young trans kid who is like a runaway and homeless, if I'm remembering correctly. I read this last summer. Um, and they're like a violin prodigy, and this other character who's like part of this main cast is like a violin instructor who also is a world famous violinist. And this instructor made a deal with the devil to create like maybe like 7 or whatever like mega stars in the violin world to like reach like peak success before giving them like
Yeah.
sacrificing them essentially. And so there's a really interesting connection being made where like you can tell that this one's special and this one is really making the instructor want to hesitate
Yeah.
on set. And then there's a whole other like storyline going on between like these aliens who have opened a donut shop. It's so, and it's like they're undercover as humans, and
That sounds really
she's
cool.
so she's either like a older teen, very young 20 something. I just remember there being something about like her running away from home, unless it was a discussion. Again, I read this like a year ago, and I just now suddenly remembering the book all at once. But no, yeah, I remember really loving it. Like the language of it is really beautiful. The sci-fi elements are so like unique and fresh.
Yeah.
It managed to like make me cry and also like laugh out loud. Like it goes to like
Those are
two
the
completely
best
like
kind of books.
opposite ends. It gets really dark and heavy before getting like really ridiculous and so delightful.
Yeah.
And yeah, A Light from Uncommon Stars. It's yes.
That's really good.
Music and donuts.
I was like, where do the donuts come into play?
The aliens posing as humans running a donut shop.
I need to read more sci-fi, so that's going on my list.
Yeah, I think that one is YA.
Cool. Great.
Yeah.
You know me. I love YA. So this is kind of space-y. So this is is it on your list too? Let's talk about it together.
And I just got it today because Darcy Little Badger was at Teen BookCon. I got to talk to her.
she's literally so cool. She's really, really cool. I got
I
to do the launch event with her for A Snake Falls to Earth.
Yes, I just got a signed copy today.
It's really good. So, Darcy Little Badger is another. Um, so she is Lipton
Mhm.
native, and another genius. Like she has a bunch of degrees and a bunch of fancy things. And this book is about an indigenous Lipan girl and a non-binary, possibly, yeah, possibly two spirit snake spirit named Ollie. And basically the girl lives in our world, Ollie lives in the world of like spirits and monsters, and there's this cataclysmic event where basically the two worlds come crashing in together. And this, when we're talking about decolonize your bookshelves, this is a really great example of that, because it's the story is really told with it draws on but is really heavily inspired by and just structured by traditional Lipan Apache storytelling structure. And that's something that we need in more books, not just like the really westernized, like the hero story or whatever. We need to be taking in other stories and realize that there's storytelling is an oral tradition that has been transcribed, and oral traditions have been around for so long. And so there's so many different ways of telling a story, and this I think is a really beautiful example of that if you want to start exploring what that even looks like in books.
Yes. So like
Yeah.
I was oh my gosh, okay. There's so much. Okay, so Darcy Little Badger was one of the keynote speakers that opened up the whole thing. And she talked about like this book because this is the most recent one. I read my first book by her a few weeks ago. I listened to the
A lot
audio
to it.
for Ilatsue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good. Oh my
Which is
god.
so good. I was screaming.
Oh,
I was like, I want a ghost dog to solve murder mysteries with.
literally.
Um, and she talked about something that like made me jump at the opportunity to get the book. Have you looked at this book underneath the dust jacket?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's bring it up.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. So yeah, when you take off the dust jacket, it's illustrations of the little characters. On the back, it's like these animals,
Yes.
and then you can't see the texture very well, but like the texture of the hardcover, like underneath the underneath the dust jacket, is like
Yeah.
this snake skin,
Yeah, you
like
can see it better on
smooth
like the
texture.
green
Like there are
kind of
very few, like
snake
usually whenever
skin.
I take off the dust jacket, I'm like cringing at the papery feely, but this is like
Yeah,
it's so
it's
nice
so
and
cool.
it's so cute. And so yeah,
And
I
the
got
like
to
the snake skin is on the. It's really hard to see in this lighting, but
yes,
it's really cool. Have
it's
to try.
really cool. And so I got to hear her talk about it. Um so great. I fell in love with Ilatsue, and yes, like you were saying, like the ways of storytelling, like this non-linear way of telling a story where it's like memories and history and folklore are flowing all in and out of each other, and like
Yeah,
we're moving backwards and forwards constantly. It's not like this happened and this happened and this happened. Like it's so fluid. And I really enjoy it. And also I found out so I listened to the audiobook for Ilatsue, and I
yes.
really enjoyed it. I was telling her about it. I was like, "Oh, sorry, I don't have a physical book for you to sign." I like borrowed the audiobook from my library, and she was like, "You know who narrates my audiobooks? It's her sister-in-law."
No way.
Yes, it's her
That's
sister-in-law.
wild.
So her sister-in-law narrates Ilatsue and this one,
That's so cool.
and is gonna be like narrating the next one, and like so I got to talk to her about that, and it was really cool. Like, and then
Yeah.
I was in charge of like handling her line at the book signing section. So like I was giving people the sticky notes with their names on it. I was
Yeah.
making sure it was one at a time. Um, Also that happened. This is not relevant at all, but something I cannot get off my head. I was standing there, and this is Teen Book Con, so there's like a lot of teenagers. Duh.
Yeah.
Um, I had a moment earlier in the day during lunch where like all these teenagers kept looking at me. Like I would look up and I'd see a teenager staring at me, and they would not break eye contact. And I was like, and this is why I'm so glad I left high school, because I'm like, what? And so I'm walking by and I sit down at the table, and my mom and my friend are there, and I'm like, is there something on my face, or do
Yeah.
teenagers just have a staring problem? And
You're
had,
like getting an attitude about it.
my
You're like
mom had to remind me
that you're on TikTok.
that I am on TikTok and they are most likely my target demographic and they
Yeah.
recognize me. And I was like, no. I was like, you know what? I hope there is something on my face. No, they do not recognize me. While I was trying to direct this line
Oh my
for
god.
Darcy Little Badger, someone came up to me and was like staring at me, and she was like, do you make videos on TikTok? I said, yes. I was so scared of the dark. She was like, "Oh my god, I love your videos. I love the way like oh my god, your shadow mode." And I was like,
Oh my god.
telling her, I was like, "This has never happened to me before." I was
That's
telling her, I was
so
like,
funny.
I have never been recognized out in public. And she was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Are you serious? I'm not anything." Like,
well, is it because you kept glaring at these teenagers who were looking at you too
I wasn't glaring.
You're
I
like,
was
oh my god, is that Gravy Del
internalizing it,
Taco? And
and
you're
I
like, don't look.
exploded separately to my mom. Like, I wasn't yelling at, like, they're teenagers. Like, I'm an adult now. I'm not allowed to yell at teenagers. We're not equals anymore. Like, I can't just be like, what? Because then I'm the freak.
Oh my god.
I'm like this random adult woman yelling at a minor. Like, I'm not about to go there. But no, like, I was genuine. I was like, anyways, and I was like, maybe it's in my head. But then someone really did confirm it, and I was like,
so funny.
I was freaking out because in my head I was like, my target demographic when I post a video is like 15 people that I know.
like,
and everyone, teenagers are scary. Thank you. Because even like, despite like the fact that I knew that all the teenagers there were like total book nerds and weren't like, and they're like freaking out with their little books, and like when they're not actively going to panels, they're reading off to the side. Like, they're there hanging out with their librarians. Like, I knew I was like I was like, these kids were me. Like,
yeah. That, you know what? That was a really like grounding thing for me to realize. Like, obviously my first two books came out during a pandemic, so I wasn't allowed to go anywhere or meet anyone, including other authors. And so I didn't start meeting other authors until like last year, 2022. And I was always so fucking nervous to meet authors, especially ones whose books who I really enjoyed. And then kind of what I like slowly realized by meeting and going to these events, I was like, we were all the book nerd of our high school. There's no like real cool kids here. We were all on the same like level, you know what I mean? And I mean that in a very like reassuring and like nice way. I think
like, it's a community.
Yeah. And it's like we're just book nerds. Like, we're not that like exciting. And I remember there was a couple of people who I met. I think Chloe Gong was a really big one for me. I was like really excited because we had been talking.
Chloe Gong is one of those authors where like I would watch their videos and I'd be like, even I am forgetting that you're this like New York Times bestselling author. I know you're forgetting you're this, like, because she's also like, she's just like another 20 something. Like, I think she's maybe a year older than me, and so she's just like, I'm a college kid, boop, 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 and
and like it totally like demystified the whole thing. I was like, oh, we're all like the same. Like, we would just really like books, and like that really kind of like turned everybody into like normal, real people to me. And I was like, oh, this is fine. But especially meeting Chloe, I was like, yeah, okay. We like both laughed at each other in the same like awkward way when we were first meeting, and I was like suddenly like very relaxed about it. Claudia Bell is like talking. Speak yours for yourself, Aiden. Yeah, I was also really nervous to meet Claudia Bell, and then again, we just like, especially me and Claudia Bell, we like Claudia Bell also writes middle grade, and she has The Witchlings, which is out, and the sequel is coming out very soon. And
I think I've heard of The Witchlings.
Yeah, it's really freaking cute. It's really, really good, and it's really...
What does the cover look like? I feel like I put it on my TV. The Witchlings. What is the cover look like?
It's beautifully illustrated. It's a scholastic book. And oh my god, what... I can't believe I'm forgetting the first book. Clarabelle, don't say it. Don't say it. I'm gonna remember. I can picture Ghost Squad. Ha! There we go. That was the first book
I've
she
also
wrote,
heard of Ghost Squad. Okay,
which is
so
great.
I'm
You would
familiar with
really
like
like
these titles.
Ghost. Yeah, for sure. You would really like it. Um, but now that we're yes, thank you. Now Teddy's like Ghost Squad. Yes, thank you. Um, yes, great. There we go. Um, but I'm gonna move on to another book just to get us wrapped down. Does that sound
Yeah.
right? I'm gonna pick one last one, and it's gonna be Manowar by Corey McCarthy. And this book. It like it's a quiet book, but I hate calling books quiet books. But it's actually a 5-year narrative of a non-binary trans masked protagonist from their like queer awakening to like going to college and being on the swim team. And this is actually a picture of the author. This is actually Corey who got it on the cover because it's a very long story, but he was like, I want a trans boy on our cover, and the publisher was like, okay, we can't do that. So they were like, I'll take it into my own hands. So this is a really good one. There's a lot of, again, this is a takes place over 5 years, so there are like darker and like heavier moments. This is a really like classic contemporary trans story, but there's also so much trans joy and celebration like around those kind of darker pockets. It's really beautiful, and Corey McCarthy is great. Was one of the another book that I had was actually by their partner, The Brilliant Death, who is A.R. Capetta. And both of these authors are trans, and they wrote Once and Future, if you've heard of that book, which is
I
a
think
trans queer sci-fi retelling
I can
of
see the
Arthur.
cover
Yeah.
in my mind's eye.
Yes.
Yes.
So they write books together and they're married and they love each other. But this is a really good book.
I love little author couples like that.
Don't we love that? And then for this one, A Brilliant Death, it's a T for T romance where a girl character showing up in in a male relative's place, kind of like Mulan, but I think it's Italian folklore inspired.
Ooh.
So if you're into that, this is a really good one. Another author who has beautiful prose that is like approachable in a way that I can understand and read it. They're both amazing.
And then I guess I'll do one more, which like in keeping in theme with like books related to the book you just said. It's a
Yeah.
book that's on my TBR that I haven't read yet, but I've
Okay.
heard good things about. Um, Tears in the Water by Margarita Ciala.
It's a beautiful cover.
Oh, it's so good. So this is a T for T romance. It's a sports romance that takes place in like a fictional country, but it's still like contemporary.
Can you, sorry, sidebar, can you text me that title so that I can look
Yes.
it up? Thank you.
Yes, 1000%.
I had like nothing to
And
write
so
down.
it's also swimming. So
Hell yeah.
yes, so like and the main character goes through like multiple gender crises and is like explore like
Don't we all?
and so it's like it takes place in a college and like they're on the swim team and so like yeah, like I've heard really great things about it. It's by an indie author. I really love the back because it has like this one photo of like the cast of characters that were
I
mainly
love
different
that.
from. It's really cool. And yeah, I just like all of my friends who have read it are obsessed with it. So and then I'm obsessed with the illustrations on the cover.
Yeah, they're
So
really great.
somewhat my friend Elle, Gracie, I have a list of both of your guys' recs from this live that I'll text you after.
Perfect. Thank you.
So yeah. Yeah. I love this. We're just bouncing off of each other.
Yeah, this is fun.
So yeah. I don't know. You said you wanted to like slowly like wrap
I just have to go hang out with my family.
We need to take a moment to talk about the amount of disgust and like
I have
annoyance.
2 left, which I can do like a really quick Rex for. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Another one is I have another Anna
Speed
Marie
rounds.
McLemore book, I realized.
And it's another book that like where I've seen the cover. I know
Yes.
I need to read it.
It's really
very much this.
So this is going back to AM's like fairy tale type writing style. Lake Lore is really, it's a really beautiful, and there's like these really specific details about it, like Mexican culture details about it that really like might make my heart sing. But it's about like two fated love interests, basically. They're both trans. Magical realism, absolutely, really beautiful, like lyrical prose. But my favorite part about this book is one of them has ADHD, and what how he deals with it, like one of the like fidget things that he does is that he makes butterfly alebrijes when they like need to keep their hands busy, and like alebrijes are something that are very deeply important to me on like a spiritual level. So being able to
Oh,
like
I know.
yeah,
This is
and
a
I was like,
full
you
circle
know,
moment back to
yes,
why you all should read the Sunbearer Trials.
yes. And another book by them, they it's not out yet. It's called Venom and Vow, and that is another story with two trans main characters, but it's like medieval, like espionage and stuff like that. But what I really was excited about that one is that the main girl, girl assassin, because they're by gender, has an not an alebrije, a quetzal, and quetzals are also really. So if you don't know, a quetzal is a bird that is like in Central, kind of South America. Guatemala is like known for being like Quetzal Central, but that was a really cool thing. So I get really excited when we have like little like Mexican touches in both of our books. So that gets me just like really stoked out of my mind. And then the last one I have, which
Oh,
I
I
is
I have this on
is
my shelf. I have this. This is also another one. I
yes.
don't know if you're seeing the comments of my friends telling me that they are going to be bullying me into reading Lake Lore. Like
Oh,
they
good.
usually need to be bullying me into reading everything, but they have been bullying me into reading Hell Followed with Us, and
Okay.
I have it.
Yes. So I was trying to like have books that maybe folks hadn't heard about aside from like Case and Calendar, because whatever.
Mhm.
So this was at the bottom of my stack if I couldn't get to it just because it was a New York Times bestseller by AJ White, and it's called Hell Followed with Us. And if you like horror and if you like body gore, like this is the book for you.
And
Um,
there's like a cult. I'm
yes, there's a cult. It's super. I missed a lot as someone who wasn't raised around organized religion, so a lot of stuff went over my head. But if you have that religious context, then it apparently takes it to like a whole other level. But it's a trans. It has a trans main character and a side character, showing a whole range of different like lived experiences as trans people. It's deeply horrifying. Like it's very scary, very very gross. Like body horror and a lot of religious trauma. But this is like a punch in the face kind of book. So if you like that, if you want it really intense, if you want to see a really angry trans boy get revenge on a religious cult that held him captive, and also there's some monstrosity involved, this is the book. This is the like trans rage book that you need to read.
yes. Okay, and then let me throw in something last minute. Ava
Okay.
Reed,
What is? Oh, yes.
The Wolf and the Woodsman, but also Juniper and Thorn, which is out of reach on my bookshelf,
I
too far
haven't
away
read
from.
Juniper and Thorn yet, and everyone keeps
Oh,
telling me how amazing it is.
it is amazing, and it really okay. Also, for fans of horror, it's gothic, it's dark. It has like some really jarring like horror elements. It's gross and odd and bizarre and like, but like, it's sort of similar to what you said about one of the other books where it's like a little bit quiet. Like
Hmm. Yeah,
it's such a slow burn of a book, and it builds up, and
I
it's
love
like
a slow burn.
it's great, and it's like this fantasy novel, and I really love Ava Reed. It's I really love Ava Reed. And then also if anyone's looking for a really great fantasy that has a really strong romantic subplot, that's enemies to lovers with horror elements,
Hell yeah.
um The Wolf and the Woodsman. And yeah, also books that incorporate like religion in a really interesting way. Ava Reed's Jewish, and so they incorporate like a lot of Jewish folklore and like culture into like the hold Ava Reed has on Gracie. Yes, and I'm happy to be there. Like I'm happy to be held there. Keep me here. Like it's really great. I am fortunate enough to have Jewish friends who I could text about it and like receive even more context. Shameless plug to Bree, Hobbit Library. Um, but no, it's great. It has lots of conversations about like Christian imperialism. It's great. I love I love the way Ava Reed writes. And I also a punch to the gut. So good. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Damn,
So
we got through a lot of books. I'm proud of us.
yes, and we like stayed on topic. Like we
We so
only
stayed on topic.
strayed for a little bit, kind of.
Only a little bit, and it was mostly on topic. So
It was yes, it was still related to books,
yes,
which is more. I was expecting us to go totally like out of left field at some point, but no, we stayed on books the whole time.
I'm really proud of us. Look at us. Look at how far we've come.
No,
Yeah, well, this was so much fun. I mean, thanks to your mom for
yes,
inviting me to do this event with you. That was that was super fun. Let's do it again sometime.
yes,
I'm
just like
reading new books all the time.
oh my yes, I was saying like I think I don't know if you were on because you did come into the comments being like help
Yeah.
but I since I had to wake up so early for like Teen Book Con, like I've been up since like 5:30, like
Oh my God, go
showering,
to
getting
bed.
ready, all that stuff. But like I've been able to like stay awake in part due to caffeine, but like mainly because I was like so excited to like meet these authors, but to also like I was like, and at the end of the day, at night, I get to
Hang
talk
on
to
me.
Aiden.
Oh, I'm so
So
jealous. It sounded like it was so much fun.
it was. We gotta bring you next year.
Yes, please tell them. Be
Yes.
like, invite Aiden, and I'll just show up and I'll have a great time.
Even if you're not even like on an official panel, just show up
It's
anyways.
Yeah, I'll just show up and I'll be like,
They'll
I
make room for
do.
you on a panel. They'll just be like,
Yeah, they'll be like, I don't know, Aiden's hanging out around here. He saw him a couple of
just like
times.
put Aiden on stage. We'll see what happens.
Oh, bad idea.
Or the greatest, if we're being completely honest.
It'd be fun. All right. Well, my God. Okay. So again, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you everyone who came to hang out with us. This was super fun.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, so happy near end for the Trans Rights Readathon, which once again started by at Simkern Simkern Simkern. Yeah, just like celebrating trans books, but also a great reminder that there are so many trans stories that like we're
And
always
so
like
many
that are being
different
written.
kinds.
So many books that are still being written, so many books that are coming out that so like even those of us who have read a bunch still haven't heard of. So I mean that's more books than you're able to fit within a week. You might as well be reading year round.
Might as well.
Might as well. It's
Cool.
only right that you do. Um,
Agreed.
but yeah, these are such fantastic stories, and clearly very easy to be enjoyed by someone who is not trans.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just like if we're only reading books about people specifically like us and not exploring stories about other people and other marginalized communities specifically, we're missing out on some really amazing pieces of literature. And so with that, thank you so much, Aiden. I'll let
Thank
you get back
you.
to your family. I'll
Okay,
get back to my reading because my family, I've
Ooh.
seen them all day. But but I hope everyone has a good rest of their night, unless you're
Yes.
leaving where it's almost morning, then good morning. And yeah.
Well, have a great
We'll
one.
do this again soon. We'll do this
Yes,
again soon.
definitely. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank y'all. All right. Good night, y'all. Done. Thank you for knowing that it was specifically about you, Elle, because I keep go to bed. All right. Thank you so much for joining. This is so much fun. I love talking to Aiden Thomas. And I'm glad that you guys like it too. Yes, I'll go to bed. And I'm about to give you a reason I'm gonna log off. All right. Thank you so much for joining. We will be doing this again soon. Good night.